Hello and welcome to Sunday School at TCM again. Now, last week we looked at the exciting I ams of Jesus. Do you remember? We went on our crazy dog walk and we learned about the different I ams. And I left you with a challenge. I said, how about trying to create something to help you remember the 7 I ams? I wonder what you came up with. Well, I went with a spring theme and I made a flower pot full of the I ams. Now, let's see if you can guess which one we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to give you some clues so you can have a go at guessing. The first clue is that most people would use this every day. Second clue, it comes in all sorts of sizes and shapes and smells. Last clue, you can eat it. Did you get it? It's this one. It's when Jesus said, I am the bread of life. So I've got a quick challenge for you. You have got 30 seconds to see if you can think of as many different types of bread and how we use bread as you can. So for example, you might say sandwich or garlic bread. Okay, so there's 2 to start you off with. I'm going to get my timer and I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Are you ready? Get next to your family and see how many you can come up with. Steady, go. Okay, you've got 15 seconds left. And stop. How did you do? Wow, that was a good challenge. There's so many different types of bread that we enjoy. Now, so we're looking at Jesus said, I am the bread of life. Jesus was a great storyteller. Now, back in those days, people wouldn't have had Bibles in their house, and a lot of them wouldn't have been able to read. So Jesus would tell them stories to help them understand who he was, who God is, and what God's kingdom is like. We would call those parables. Do you remember, like the Good Samaritan or the lost sheep? Well, when Jesus was talking about the I ams, he only used a single object or one idea. So he was obviously trying to teach us something about this one object of bread. So let's see if we can work out what Jesus wanted us to understand when he said, I am the bread of life. I've got 4 Bible stories that I'm going to tell you today. I'm going to show you a picture and tell you briefly the story, okay? And they all contain bread. Here's the first one. Hopefully you can see that. After the plagues, do you remember with Moses and the Red Sea? After the plagues that struck Egypt and after Moses led the Israelites through the Red Sea, they travelled for many days. Their food had run out and they started complaining. God heard them. The next morning, God sent bread from heaven. It was called manna and it tasted like honey. You can read about that in Exodus chapter 16. Our next story is about a man called Elijah. Here he is. We're going to find out why he's got birds on his head. Ahab was not a good king, and he did not love God. Elijah was a prophet, a messenger from God. He went to Ahab to tell him that God was angry with him and that he was going to send a famine on the land. That meant no rain, no plants to grow food, no food. Elijah escaped to the desert, and God looked after him there by a brook of fresh water, And each day God sent birds called ravens to bring him bread. And there they are, bringing him bread. Our next story is about Elijah again. And when the brook had dried up, God told him to go to a nearby town. And there he met a woman and her son. He asked her for some bread and water. This woman was very poor and only had enough left for her and her son. Elijah told her not to be afraid, as God would look after her and provide food for her to eat, because she looked after Elijah. God looked after her. The woman's flour and oil jars to make bread never ran out. You can read both those stories about Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 17. And our last story, you should all know this one. See if you can guess. Over 5,000 people had come to hear Jesus teach. It was late and the people were hungry. No one had any food except for a boy who had a pack up. It had 5 small loaves of bread and 2 fish. How was this ever going to be enough to feed everyone? Jesus took the bread and he thanked God for it and passed it around to the crowds of people. Everyone had enough to eat, and there were even 12 baskets full left over at the end. You can read that story in Matthew chapter 14. In these stories, all the people were hungry, and God provided food for them. He provided bread for them. But Jesus wasn't talking about us feeling hungry in our bellies. He was talking about a different hunger. He was talking about a spiritual hunger. Let me explain. Some of you love Paw Patrol. You love to watch the programs, and at home you've probably got school bags and lunch boxes all with the characters on. You might have the teddy bears, and when you go out to the shops you see something with Paw Patrol on and you're like, please can I have it? I really want it. Some would say that you're hungry for it. Some of you follow a certain football team and you love to watch their matches on television. You've got the kit, you've got the shirt, maybe you've got some autographs of the players, and maybe you even get to go and watch them live at their matches. Some would say you're hungry for it. Some of you love TikTok, watching the videos, learning the dance moves, watching them again, learning them again and again. Some would say you're hungry for it. So when Jesus tells us that we have a spiritual hunger, he's saying that it's something that's deep within us, even deeper than those pleasures that we have just looked at, those things that we want to satisfy. Jesus is talking about something even deeper than that. It's a need or a space to be filled. That space can only be filled by Jesus. He is the bread to satisfy our hunger. And if we look at Jesus and if we learn from him and if we love him and follow him, we need never be spiritually hungry again. Jesus is enough. Wow, that was a lot of learning in a very short space of time. So I thought we would have a go at making something today. Now, I know I said put your aprons on and we're going to make something in the kitchen. Now, some of you will be thinking, oh, we're going to make bread. No, we're not going to make bread. Some of you might be thinking, oh, we're going to learn a new recipe of something exciting to eat. No, we are going to learn how to make the best Play-Doh that you will ever use, okay? Now, have pen and paper ready so you can write down the recipe and then you can have a go at baking it sometime soon. Okay, so you're going to need a very big mixing bowl. Now I'm going to just change the camera angle a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, right. So here's my mixing bowl. And in here, first of all, we're going to put 1 cup of flour. In it goes. Okay, I'm going to leave a little bit because we might need some at the end just to roll it out with. Okay, next ingredient, I hope you're writing these down, is going to be half a cup of salt. So we have 1 cup of flour, doesn't matter if it's plain or if it's self-raising, and we want half a cup of salt. Sounds yummy so far, doesn't it? Let's give it a mix, and then we're going to put in 1 tablespoon of cream of tartar. I don't know quite how you say that. Tartar. Anyway, it's gone in. We'll give that a mix. Nice and easy so far. Next, this is where you're going to need the help of an adult, okay? I'm just going to tip that flour on there, ready for later. You're going to need 1 cup of boiling water, okay? This is very important that you get an adult to do this for you. Now at this point, if you wanted to, you could put in some food colouring into the water so that you get a coloured Play-Doh. But I'm not doing that because I think the colour it comes out is perfect for bread. And into the water, again, get the adult to do this for you, is put in 1 tablespoon of oil. Okay, so when you've done that, get your adult to help you pour it into your dry mixture. There we go. And then, just to begin with, get your adult to help you give it a good mix. Okay, because it will be quite warm. After a while, it will all join together and it's going to make a really nice mixture. Now, at this point, we're going to have to get messy. So I'm going to take my rings off. I don't want to get them messy, and I didn't think about taking them off beforehand. I'm going to spread our flour out. We're going to get messy. Okay. Now, I'm going to need a little bit more flour, so bear with me for 10 seconds. If I'm not back by 10 seconds, then turn off, okay? Ready? Count. See, I was back till 10 seconds. That's amazing. Right, so we're going to put a bit more flour and try not to get this on the computer. Okay, in it goes. Now I'm going to give it a really good squidge. Now this Play-Doh recipe, once you've made it, if you keep it in a plastic bag or a box that's airtight, it will last for ages. It's a really good recipe. And one of my favourite things about it right now is it's nice and warm. So I'm going to get rid of that bowl. Now look at this. This is where you can have a really good squidge and get it really nice and smooth. And then what I thought you could do with this is you could have a go at modelling some of the stories that we've been talking about today. So if you were going to do the 5 loaves and 2 fish, then you could model 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Or maybe you could have a go at making a raven with the story of Elijah. Or perhaps you just want to make up a picnic to help you remember how important bread is to us every day and how Jesus gave us the picture of being like bread to feed us. There we go. That's how you make the best Play-Doh recipe there is. Now I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to have a chance just now to make anything. But what I will say to you is have a great week. Next week, our thing that's going to be really different is that we're going to be outside in the garden. Okay, now if we're in the garden, try and work out which I am we will be looking at. So until then, I'm going to say have fun with your Play-Doh, and I'll see you next time. Bye!